bunch stuck together?
No.
Was it really, really, really thin?
It really was, yeah.
I didn't give you the last one.
I'm telling you.
There was no way that was the last one. There was like at least probably 3 left.
Maybe you don't remember eating them.
No.
But the only one I got was the last one.
Because I remember peeling like a few apart. Like I peeled one off and there was like a couple left that you could have peeled apart. So I thought there was probably like 2 or 3 left. And so, yeah, and so I was just like, yeah, there's no way this is the last one. But so, I don't know. Serving dog butt. So what now this year?
I don't know. Just needed a little bit of quiet from.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot happening. I think this got shifted. Ugh.
Mommy's sitting pretty back as well.
That could be it.
Down for the night, God beautiful light. What size is that?
2X. You want to try it?
Is it the biggest size they have?
Yeah.
I'm not going to try it. That's okay. I have no doubt it will look good on me.
Ever the humble one. I'll look great.
In my own. It will look good its own way on me.
Mm-hmm.
With hairy shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Are we recording?
We are.
Let's talk some shit.
Let's talk shit about people.
I used to talk shit.
I still do. But I used to. Move. Okay, or don't move.
This is somebody who I live with who had to go to the Hootska for a week.
Yeah, I've heard that term before. I think that's funny.
He's telling everybody he had a seizure.
He's telling people he had a seizure?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never seen a seizure like that.
Well, you know, seizures are different for everybody, but
are they? I mean,
I'm being diplomatic.
I just can't. I cannot. Just. I mean, yeah. It's funny to hear him talk about it because other than that, he's pretty spot on. Well, not fully, but in most ways.
Yeah.
He's like, the paramedics didn't know how to handle me because you were fucking yelling at them in your little asshole.
In your underwear.
I would have left. Double dogs.
Double dog, dare you. This is my life. Just the dogs constantly hanging out with me. They won't leave me alone. I know, these little creatures. This one's just struggling to survive. He's doing his best. It's so hard to see on camera.
Darkness.
The cutest little void.
What's your favorite Rick James song?
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
I'm making a joke.
Okay. I understand the joke.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny, I thought.
Hey.
So many great movies like that. And then names.
One that is not, I know. When I could have gone with Raging Bull or Goodfellas.
You ever seen Raging Bull?
Yeah.
I never have.
I did. So I took a film studies class in high school. Not because I had any appreciation for film per se, but because I got to watch
more
movies.
math.
Yeah, I mean it was an elective, and I had to take an elective. So, and I was already taking a math class, so I didn't want to do that. I'm not going to take 2 math classes or 2 science classes or whatever, because it was high school. Anyway, and so I watched a bunch of movies like that. What's that? The math class?
None of them.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't like them either. That's why instead of calculus, I took stats, AP statistics, because that was easy.
Easy.
I mean, it was, yeah. High school level statistics is not that hard.
I'm sure I would have had an issue with it.
Well, it's like math light. It's like math, but with more logic.
I love using. I used to try to use logic in algebra, and it never would turn out well for me because I didn't know how to do something. We're like, what's the most logical way to do this?
Well, yeah. I mean, with statistics, it's more just like
I actually like statistics.
because I just think that it's a more useful and intuitive tool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For me, a lot of it was like, is this? Am I being tortured with this, or will this ever have some sort of significance in my life?
Yeah.
And when I drew the line, I did not participate in the torture me session of the education system.
Yeah.
We need you to color. Motherfucker, I'm 18 years old. I am not coloring jack shit.
Yeah, the area under the curve.
Like, I remember being in a language arts class one time in like 11th grade. Fucking coloring. And I was just looking around, and the teaching assistant was like, "Why are you coloring?" I'm like, "Dude, because my beard's longer than yours is. Why the fuck am I here? Why am I coloring right now?"
That's funny.
You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Oh, just don't try to, just you know." He was telling me. Then he pulled me to the side. He's like, "Look, you're a leader, okay? You gotta lead by example and do it, because the other students follow you." Like, what are you talking about?
He was just trying to butter you up.
He was, but coloring against my will is not what I want to do with my time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. It's coloring against your will.
Yeah.
It's a crime that needs to be passed.
Yeah. Bullshit education.
There should be a bullshit education bill passed.
Well, Betsy DeVos would touch that, I'm sure.
Who's Betsy DeVos?
She's
I know
head of education.
She's the Secretary of Education.
Yeah.
For a little while longer.
For a little while longer, yeah.
Maybe one of Biden's people will do it.
Maybe. To hear Gary tell it, the rumor is that Stacey Abrams is going to be it. Second ed. I mean, she's a very smart lady. I don't know why she'd be the Secretary of Education, but
she's so smart. Why does she look so ugly?
Because clearly there's a correlation between intelligence and beauty. Just ask Stephen Hawking.
Hey, now, a little too soon. He was a handsome man before he got the
Was he? ALS?
The ALS. Did he have ALS?
I think so.
Or
Yeah.
MS.
I thought it was ALS.
Long time with it. ALS.
I know.
Because usually they die pretty quick.
Yeah.
Within definitely 20 years.
It wasn't. I for some reason, I could have sworn it was ALS, but I could be right. Stephen Hawking. CEO of Quibi is in line for a cabinet position. Is he? Being the Quibi that just failed. Or she. I don't know who.
I think they should hire the girl who was in charge of Theranos. What was her name?
I can't remember, but she was like the only 20-year-old that was ostensibly a billionaire.
On
20 in her 20s, rather. And, yeah, it turns out it was all fraud.
Kind of. But how many companies do you think operate almost in a similar way? I've bet a lot. I've bet more than you could realize.
I think that I don't know anymore, but I think that was a big thing. So I think that when there's a lot of snake oil around, right, there's a lot of hype.
Yeah.
And people don't really know the substance behind it, they can fall for stuff in venture capitalism, like the dot-com boom in the late 90s, early 2000s, when people were just like, oh, well, we need a dot-com or whatever, or you should, be our angel investor or whatever. And people, like, these companies were just, these people were becoming millionaires overnight for something that was like not scalable or sustainable. I think that was a big thing. Nowadays, I think people are wiser. I think it's harder to get funding, but if anything, that's a credit to her and her people for being able to pull off that level of snake oil selling.
He has motor neuron disease.
Okay.
MNDS. So neither.
Interesting. Okay.
It also it doesn't specify actually because that is a broad.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of things that could be motor neuron diseases.
Yeah. ALS is one of them.
Yeah.
Progressive bulbar palsy.
Okay.
Pseudo bulbar palsy.
I've never heard of it.
There's always got to be a pseudo.
Right. It's like that, but it's not. It's a pseudo.
It doesn't say, from what I can see.
So he had something that was similar to, but not necessarily ALS.
What was Stephen Hawking disability?
What was his deal? What was Stephen Hawking's deal anyway? Think he's all cool.
Diagnosed with a rare form of motor neuron disease when he was 22.
Okay. So it didn't have a diagnosis. It didn't have a name at that time.
Yeah. I guess.
Well, I mean, maybe, right? It's probably another disease that they haven't quite. Watch them find more cases of that, and they'll be like, well, the first person we knew with that, the first high-profile case was Stephen Hawking. Then they'll call it Stephen Hawking's disease. They'll be like, it's kind of Lou Gehrig's disease, but it's different because it doesn't make you stop breathing, like Lou Gehrig's disease does.
Lou Gehrig's disease is about as simple of a death sentence as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like Lou Gehrig, he lasted a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Less than a couple years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
So, I don't know. No, not a good way to go.
I don't even remember what it stands for, but amyloid something. But I know that. Well, my understanding is that it causes a demyelination of your motor neurons, and because the myelin is the sheath that surrounds and protects your neurons, and as a result, you just don't conduct. Your neuromuscular, and neuromotor function diminishes. With all of your motor functions up to and including breathing, right? Your diaphragm. Because your diaphragm.
I think MS does the same thing.
You could be right.
Breathe,
I don't know.
Mistaken.
I don't know a thing about MS, unfortunately.
Fewer than 20,000 cases a year in the U.S.
Of what, MS or
Lou Gehrig's.
Yeah. Well, it's good that it's that rare. Although 20,000 is still a lot. That's
not really.
That's
though.
400 per state per year.
Is that a lot? I don't know. It's a lot to us, perhaps.
I'm confident that that's one person per county per year.
Perhaps. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Yeah. Audio is different than usual. No, we're using the same mic. We have some stuff in the way.
It would probably just suck this week.
Yeah, that's possible. I could angle it like this and then switch to that one. Is that any better, Tiny? Tiny 14? Who I feel like I should know, but am not certain. Yeah. Please provide feedback. It could be our internet. Yeah. I've been using a lot
Don't insult our internet connection.
It could be.
It's bad, but it's okay.
No, it's not the same internet as before. And I've been using a lot of 4G. So maybe I'm getting thrown into.
Who is Charles Shaw?
A vintner, I'm assuming. I can only watch 360p. All right. I don't know. Charles Shaw.
How many people with issues, developmental issues or whatever, mental issues, do you think might have those were possibly brought on by fetal alcohol syndrome?
That's specific. I'm sure plenty.
It's like,
it could be anything.
Yeah.
I think what you're on the right track in saying is that the most sensitive time in a person's life and development, the thing that has the most ramifications and causes the most collateral damage is when you're in utero. Because it's at that point that you're going from one little cell to billions.
And it's important.
So your exposure to any sort of toxin or toxicity or whatever, that's the base. That is building your infrastructure from nothing. So,
my ex, we would talk about if she got pregnant, and she would eat a Big Mac meal every day from McDonald's.
Wow.
She was small, but I was like, that's not gonna be. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, you gotta cut that out.
You gotta eat healthy,
right?
We gotta get these babies on steak and potatoes.
That's right. Or at least with lots of folic acid.
Build them thick. I wonder, I really am interested to see if and when I have children, by providing proper nutrition, how much of a difference I think it can make.
Well, you'll never know.
I am going to know. Here's how I'm going to know, Mike. I'm going to have 2 kids, and you already know where this is going.
I already have very strong, very, very strong opposition to your control.
It wouldn't surprise me that it's been done before by somebody. Not in the scientific community officially.
Right. Well, you could look at the Dutch Hunger winner.
That would definitely be we've talked about it.
Yeah.
During World War II.
Yep.
1944.
Times of famine. Yeah, you can look at other times, war-torn countries, things like that, and if you're able to study at a societal level, the amount of fill in the blank, right? The number of cognitive diseases or shortcomings or whatever you want to call it, versus other generations and things like that. Or not even generations, just between years, because that was one very specific period of time.
I would allow my children to take HGH if they had a condition where they had low growth hormone levels.
Yeah, I was offered it, as I told you before.
Should have said yes.
Should have said yes.
Is that the biggest regret of your life? Saying no to the GH.
I don't know.
When you were before your growth plates closed.
I mean, is that the biggest regret of my life? I don't know. I don't even know if it's a regret. The reason I didn't do it was because I just felt like it was a part of who I was. You know what I mean? And it's almost like fate.
6 foot tall Mike Marini was not who you were.
Well, I didn't. First of all, it probably wouldn't have been that much.
Probably.
Second of all, it's not like I'm super short now. Like between 5'8" and 5'9".
You're 5'8" and 9/12.
Right. It's not markedly short. No. It's short, but it's not markedly short.
Well, the average height's 5'9.5".
Yeah, so I'm just under average.
But you make up for it in other ways.
Sure. Anyway, no, but it was just part of who I was, and I guess I just didn't want to. I didn't know how it would affect me, and I didn't know how it would affect, me physically, and also my identity and who I was, and how it would make me act. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if you were always, the shortest kid in your class, and suddenly you took HGH, and, then you were, on the taller side. You know what I mean? Would you just become, would you have had a chip on your shoulder and all of a sudden just become this insufferable douchebag? You know what I mean? I didn't know who I would be. I knew who I was.
It doesn't sound like you were really educated very much about it by your parents or a doctor.
No, it was just more how it was presented to me was we can give this to you. We don't know what it'll do, but you might grow an inch or two.
They kind of do know what it'll do.
Well, they don't, because a lot of it's up to you, and everybody's different,
They
right?
are.
And your development trajectory is different than everybody else's. And I don't know how long I would have been on it. If it would have been a one-time thing, you know, like there was a lot of questions, and it was more just like the devil you know.
Right.
So who knows? Looking back now, sure, I would have loved to have done it. And,
Either it can make you look like turn you into Captain America, or you'll instantly die. First injection. 50-50 shot. What are you doing? Go.
I wouldn't do it.
You would not do it. No. Are you familiar with the fact that when polled probably 15 years ago, Olympic athletes said that they would gladly, I add gladly, don't know if that's willingly, for a gold medal, take years and years off their life.
Yeah, that was an interest.
Yeah, it was.
I watched it at your suggestion.
Great
It
documentary.
was a very good documentary. Yeah, I enjoyed it. If you take it when you're young, do you avoid the big head issue? Probably.
The big head issue.
Acromegaly.
But the big head.
But not even. Well, actually, you can't really answer that because you only get to think like Andre the Giant, right? He had acromegaly, like a big head, really pronounced Cro-Magnon features.
Right,
Like that.
and he was 7 feet tall.
Right, because he had a pituitary gland that overproduced growth hormone, right? And so, and the thinking is, and apparently it does happen to people who use GH, that they can get, obviously not to that level, but like they get some features that are more like that.
Yeah, the
Right.
intestines grow, internals grow.
Yeah.
Your heart grows way more
Right.
than it would have. The intestines is a big one.
Yeah.
Gut, GH gut.
Yep.
A lot of the people that talk about that have no fucking clue what they're talking about, though. You know, you got about a bunch of 160-pound dweebs talking about GH gut. Like, bitch, you've never eaten over 3,000 calories in a day.
Yeah.
You know what heavy eating over years will do to your body. Like, not good, I'm sure.
Dog, come on, man. This is not for you.
I'm sure the growth hormone's a factor, though.
Of course, yeah, and
I'm not denying that.
no, and I think it's one of those things where it's like you kind of. So I think the thing about studying medicine is you see these sorts of things in medical textbooks, right? Like you hear about GH, you think of acromegaly, whatever, or these other like.
And that was caused by a tumor on his pituitary.
On his, yeah. But like if you abuse
As it
GH or
usually
overexposure to GH, whether it's from a tumor or exogenous or whatever, can cause those things, right?
Yeah.
But like when you see them, when you learn about them, right? Like you will see pictures of it in a textbook in the same way that you like see deformities that happen when you're exposed to other stuff, right? Or like this can happen. It doesn't mean it will,
Right.
right? So like for every person that abuses GH and gets acromegaly, you probably have a dozen or so that don't.
Well, I think it's, comes down to a lot of factors whether it's going to affect.
Receptors, how much you do.
Right. How long, how much,
Yeah.
and genetics.
Absolutely. So, but I think that's what they're saying is like if you were to ask a doctor about as an adult, say like GH supplementation, or I guess any time in life, they'll be like, well, this is a possible side. Just like when you, just like when you're watching TV and they talk about Zeltrex or insert other fucking drug here, and they have to tell you all the possible
Only the
side
chance
effects.
of death in mass shootings.
Right? So it's just like it's like these things can't happen. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen to you. Probably not. But we're gonna cover our ass and tell you that. We understand that this could happen to you, so it is incumbent upon us to tell you. You can use GH, sure. Would I recommend it? Probably not. I'm playing the role of doctor because it can cause high blood pressure, your intestines to grow, your heart to grow. It can cause acromegaly. It can cause a bunch of stuff.
On 2 IUs a day, I wouldn't worry about it.
Right.
And I'm not an expert, and I've never taken growth hormone.
Right. But your experience in hearing from other people having done so, real world examples, not just from a textbook, can inform that.
Fuck the the textbooks.
Well, right, and that's why, like, I've heard tale of people talking about when they talk to their doctors about using PEDs, and they'll ask, the doctors will ask what PEDs are on, they'll start naming them off, the doctors won't even know. They'll just be like, what?
Hell no, they're underground drugs. They don't know what they are.
Right, and they may not know. I mean, and if they've heard of them, it's probably just it was in a chapter of a book that they didn't really pay so much attention to, right?
Most of those PEDs, number one, are very new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Tren. They weren't using Tren in the 70s. Things like Deca and testosterone, pharmaceutical grade, human grade stuff that was developed for human benefit.
Uh-huh.
So they might know more about. Tren is not going to be mentioned. Most likely.
Sure. What's up, JD? But I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But no, I guess my thesis of what I'm trying to say there is that I think that with drugs like that, they'll talk about. I mean, he brings up, do you avoid the big head issue? And I think the answer is well, it really depends on a lot of things. And I think the reason that you're asking that question is probably because you've heard it in the same way that doctors or whatever have heard of it, which is through a textbook and maybe through journals or whatever that have talked about how this is a known side effect of it. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that will happen to a person that takes it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, you've taken GH and now you're going to get a big head. It's like,
don't think if you abuse it, perhaps.
Right. I mean, it's just like taking anything, but think about people who are bald and they take Rogaine. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to grow their hair back.
Right.
They might. It's definitely better than not taking Rogaine, but there's no telling. It really depends on a lot of factors.
I have no idea how it works. Rogaine.
I actually do. It stimulates the follicles. It provides more blood flow to the hair follicles themselves.
Okay.
That have been sort of cut off.
I can see where that would be useful.
Yep.
Can you put that on joints to help with recovery, powerlifting injuries?
I don't think it works that way.
Brings more blood to the area.
I mean, theoretically, yeah. So also because that's minoxidil, and my understanding is that it was actually developed as a blood pressure drug. One known side effect of it is that it lowers blood pressure.
Doesn't give you erections.
Well, it could, in the same way that those drugs lower your blood pressure, which is why. And the reason being is because what it does is it fosters decentralization of blood flow. It makes your body force more blood into outlying areas. You know what I mean? Right. So it spreads out your blood more than just keeping it in main arteries and stuff, right? Because if it's in your main arteries, then there's more volume there in fewer spaces, and so obviously the pressure on those is going to be higher.
Makes sense.
So if you diffuse it a bit more, the pressure is lower. So what the minoxidil is doing there is whether you take it orally or you take it topically, if say you put it on your arm or something or your head, right? It's going to try to force more blood flow to the skin on your head.
I wonder what the difference between that and, say, sildenafil, Viagra, or tadalafil, Cialis.
Well, they all have the ill at the end, so they're the same class.
So they're probably all pretty sweet because they're ill. It's ill.
They're ill.
Very
I'm ill. Yeah, I'm ill. No, but I mean, I think by understanding that is that they have the same mechanism of action, right?
Yeah.
They're just chemically different in ways that I don't know because I'm not a fucking pharmacist.
You know who would?
I think I have a good idea. So yeah. Sorry, that was on a tangent, but I think we got it. Pug's name. Reggie is the blonde one. Kirby is the black one.
I always mix them up.
Reggie's the OG. It might help you to understand Kirby.
I know how a good way to memorize it. Reggie the rapist and Kirby.
That's fair. Kirby's middle name is also Herschel. Like Herschel
Black.
Walker.
That's racist.
It's not the reason. We were going hard Georgia on that one.
Reggie.
We went straight UG on that. We went with Kirby for Kirby Smart, and it's a cute name. And then Herschel because it's probably the best Georgia player ever.
Better than Champ Bailey?
Didn't Herschel win a Heisman?
Better than Frank Sinkwich?
Couldn't tell you. Certainly higher profile.
Won the Heisman.
But did Frank Sinkwich help them win a title?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
What about
Couldn't
Charlie
tell
Trippy?
Wouldn't know. Don't know when that's from. Probably didn't help them win a title.
Also like the 40s.
Okay.
What about
Jim Thorpe?
What about
Just do some needling in the knee tissue.
Fran Tarkenton?
We didn't think of that. Fran is also not a super good name for a pug. Actually, it's kind of
Seems like if you had a girl pug, her name should be Fran.
Fran. That's not bad.
Fran. If you had a girl pug, God help her.
Francine.
Francis.
Get him. Oh,
Well, his name is Francis.
yeah, I know. But if it was a girl, it'd be Francis can be a girl name too.
Francis is a girl. Who is J.G.?
Don't know. Pick up the phone. Tiny 14. Okay, Sean wears cult following. Can you explain that? Twitch
No.
dub?
I'm not.
He or she's been on here.
I'm not aware of my cult following, but I appreciate it.
If only you could monetize that. We are not aware.
I'm a little bit aware, but maybe only from my own channels.
Right.
I'm not on the. My ear's not to the pavement on the other channels.
Right.
That
Mine is certainly more so, and I'm not aware of it.
you're not aware of it either.
I mean, at a very superficial level, but
You're not in the
No.
culture. The Matrix.
it's not. I wouldn't even say that. I just say that like.
How are they gonna make another Matrix movie? I feel
Are
like,
they?
Yes, they're
Oh shit.
filming it, or they're done filming it. No Lawrence Fishburne. Did you know his daughter is a pornographic actress?
Did not know that. She probably doesn't have to do that. She probably just chooses to do that.
That she. I mean, that's her job. Make money.
Well, yeah, but like,
Her dad is not a trillionaire.
no, but like her dad is probably well off enough to be able to.
Not every rich person gives their children money.
Well, one of them is headstrong enough to not prevent that from happening.
I thought that
I hope he's proud of her.
Carrie Ann, he's not. I thought Carrie Ann Moss, her character, Trinity in The Matrix. Have you seen The Matrix?
Yes.
I thought she died.
I don't know anything else about her other than she was in the Matrix.
I thought she died. I thought her character died in the movie.
Reposted a lot. Okay. I mean, I know I have reposted you enough, but like on my Tumblrs.
You know, the directors of The Matrix.
The Coen Brothers?
No.
No, the something brothers.
Law.
Oh, with Wachowski brothers? Huh? What? Okay. Are they that way?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're fully transitioned male to female.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean now? Are they?
Well, they have different first names.
Okay.
I don't remember their names.
But they're the Wachowskis, though, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's it.
So now they're just the Wachowskis.
Well, they were already, but now they're, instead of Sam and Bill,
Assuming that was their names.
Gloria.
Crazy morph of, oh lord.
We would like to see it.
I have a theory
On
who Twitch Dub Dub is.
who do you think it is?
Possible. It's getting NSFW. Yeah. What's the morph of? Is it a specific part of me or is it the whole thing?
Does that mean
It's
not safe
hilarious.
for work? Not safe for work?
NSFW is not safe for work.
Haven't been to my work.
We're a liberal work spot.
I always find it interesting when someone identifies as a Republican, why they do so.
What do you mean?
Like, I have a couple co-workers, one specifically that very liberal, minded person,
All right.
but identifies as Republican for some crazy ass reason.
Well,
And I almost think it's only because of the guns.
well, that doesn't help anybody.
So I think the Democratic Party need to come out and be like, we're all for guns, and they'd get a lot more. They would have won 60% of the vote.
Here's the problem. Only one of the Wachowskis is directing Matrix 4. The problem is that the right, writ large, obviously not everybody, is real good at talking shit and making shit up about what the left thinks and what everybody on the left does, right? And what they stand for. You know what I mean? And they have these, like, totally out of context, pictures of, like, AOC going like, "Gah!" and being like, she wants to take your jobs and drive this country into the ground with all this bullshit, and they want to make you communist, and they want to take away your freedoms. And, like, people are dumb enough to believe that.
And that's unfortunate.
Right, but the problem is like, the left, quote unquote, will not bring themselves to do that, to my knowledge, because to my understanding, the stuff that they say about, conservative candidates, for example, is largely based on stuff that they've actually done, right? Not like taking quotes of what they've said and then extrapolating on that as to be like, well, they want to do this, and they want to ruin America, and they want to steal your jobs, and they want to, they want to send everything, all of your work and all this money to across the world because they're globalists and they don't want, I don't think that sort of like misrepresentation of character happens nearly as much to people who are conservative, because I don't think that the left is in the business of doing that. They don't. I
don't think they have to.
Well, they kind of do, because they're not kicking the shit out of them. Because I think that they think that they can rest on their laurels and win with policy. Because they're like, here are the things that everybody needs, whether you think you do or not. Whatever side of the aisle you stand on, ideologically, you need healthcare. You need money to pay for stuff. We all need to be able to take care of the world so that, if you're a farmer, your crops aren't getting constantly destroyed by hurricanes that are crazy worse than they used to be, or come way more frequently than they used to be. Stuff like that, right?
Do they?
Yeah. Well, it's statistically more. Statistically, yes. The impact and the frequency of
I imagine the impact
catastrophic storms is higher and more frequent than it's been in the past.
I believe, obviously that global warming is a thing.
Yeah.
And humans have a massive impact on that.
Yep. It's like the most likely candidates.
Right. I also believe that there's a lot of factors that go into these catastrophic weather events, and it's just come with the territory of expansion. A city like New Orleans is fucking mostly under sea level.
Yeah.
There's a fuck ton of people there. there were so many factors against it. You know, there's more people in the country. We've fucked up. We've built in places that don't need to be built.
I don't disagree. I think that's true. But the conditions were such that they were able to, even without lots of crazy technology, able to do that successfully for hundreds of years. But even forgetting all of that, we have hurricanes that form over land now in the Midwest, and that's never really happened before. Like Iowa, all that shit that happened in Iowa.
First female athlete I was a fan of. Probably Lita or Trish Stratus from the WWE.
Wow.
Or Sable. Ooh, Sable when I was 5 years old. She married Brock Lesnar.
Wow.
She's older than Brock Lesnar by like 10 years. Maybe a little more. But Mia Hamm, she's hot.
Mia Hamm was probably...
I really, what's her name? Hope Solo.
She was really hot.
You know she's a bad girl.
She was so hot.
You know she's a bad
But
girl.
like, I'm talking like pre-sexualization. You know what I mean? Like, there was no female athletes that when you were like 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever, that you were just like, you saw her and you're like, wow, she's definitely a badass. Because like everyone
Yes.
Like I don't know all
China.
the wrestlers that you named,
China.
but like chances are they're all
was
pretty hot.
She was a badass. China was a badass.
Okay.
China was, big, wrestling men, looked bigger
Yeah.
or as big as, and was a woman.
China.
Yeah.
China.
I liked China.
I read her biography. Interesting.
Complicated life. Unfortunate that she. Have you seen her sex tape though? With X-Pac.
Oh my god.
Sean Whitman is his name. That's X-Pac. It was sad.
Yeah.
It was sad. She's just a girl that liked to lift weights and get swole.
And nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it. Her I stayed away. Well, her sex tape was not great. Not great. What is your favorite sex tape, Mike?
I don't think I have one. I can't really think of many.
You really were never a big porn guy anyway.
No.
So
No, I was deathly afraid of getting caught with that shit on my home computer.
gotcha.
And then, like, by then, I think I just adapted so many other, like, ways to, figure that shit out with plausible deniability that I just, like, kind of...
The first thing I did was a friend of mine got a Playboy.
I didn't know who the tallest president was.
Abraham Lincoln.
I was going to say, Lincoln is my gut instinct, but maybe there was a taller one.
No, it was Abraham Lincoln. Probably followed by Lyndon B. Johnson.
LBJ was tall?
Yeah, he was.
How was old Teddy? Was he a big dude?
I don't think he was significantly tall. He was probably larger than average man.
Yeah.
Warren G. Harding was like 6'2", I think. Apparently he had a large penis.
I didn't know that.
Wore a size like fucking 14 shoe or some shit like that.
I didn't know that.
I don't know.
Just read it somewhere.
Just remember that.
Did you know?
Who else?
Didn't.
Gerald Ford played center at Michigan.
In which sport?
Football.
Okay. I was like, basketball? Because that would be tall. Yeah, but centers don't have to be that tall.
There's no center shorter than 6'2" in the NFL, guaranteed.
Yeah, but what about back then?
Exactly. Probably 6 feet though. I know he was a big guy.
Well, they don't have to be as big as other linemen.
They're usually probably the smallest linemen.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Um,
To me, you ask, like, how tall is your average center? I think, like, between 6'2" and 6'3". Or 6 foot and 6'3".
I think you need to get Jeff Saturday off your head. Because
Is he short? I think that's
He's
probably
smaller
why.
than
He's my when you tell me to think of a quintessential center, I think of Jeff Saturday. And, yeah, probably.
Abraham Lincoln was
Lincoln.
quite the renowned barnyard wrestler.
I'm listening.
That's all I can really tell you. Apparently, he was just really good at wrestling.
What does that mean? He wrestled a steer?
He just wrestled other men. Wrestling was big. You know, they didn't have nothing to do
I
with
love
their
that.
free time.
Man versus steer. Who wins?
Everyone knows who the tallest president is. So
I would think.
George Washington was pretty tall. He's probably in the top 5.
Wow.
He was like 6'2".
Which isn't especially tall, but
That is pretty tall.
how many presidents were probably gay or not straight?
Well, James
Probably a couple.
Buchanan was gay. James Buchanan was never married. He was the 15th president. He lived with Rufus King for over 10 years. Rufus King was from Alabama, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And Buchanan was from Pennsylvania. But it's pretty... A lot of people think they were gay. They called Buchanan Miss Nancy.
Well then.
But I remember Gary bringing up a point how it was kind of talked about differently, or wasn't talked about, or wasn't a negative. He definitely had a different type of thing about it.
Gay historian Gary Durden.
Gay historian. How many presidents?
Gay or not straight? I don't know. I mean,
Not straight is hard.
they may have had a very effective beard, which is to say a woman that is their wife, or is their actual wife, but like
Well,
they don't.
Eleanor Roosevelt was a lesbian.
Okay.
She had a girlfriend that lived at the White House.
So FDR.
FDR
is at
was
least
not
closet. No.
He loved women,
Oh. Okay.
even though he was fucking crippled. Well, I would think it would. You're limited in your positions, I would think.
Okay,
There's
fair
no hitting it from the side or from the back when you're paralyzed.
enough. Not with that attitude.
Maybe his
My man was wheeling around doing his thing,
I don't.
and most people didn't even know for the longest time.
Have you both played rugby? I have never played rugby.
I did for years.
Mike, professional rugby player, retired.
Yep. Didn't want CTE.
Reggie, professional
Sleeper.
pug snuggler. Kirby,
Struggles to breathe.
might have CTE. Needs a CPAP.
Definitely needs a CPAP. My little baby. My little bear.
I think we're good for tonight.
I agree.
Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. What fast food place has the best fries?
I already know mine.
Mike's is In-N-Out.
Nope. But I think they're the most underrated. Because people bag on them all the time. It's just because they don't know how to do it right.
McDonald's fries are great.
That's fine.
I mean, let's just be real.
I think it's because I think there's sugar in them. Or there's something about it. It's like their Diet Coke. And there's Sprite, apparently. I don't know the last time we got Sprite at a fast food restaurant.
Just from the fountain. You know, it's from...
Well, right, but they do something differently to it. And I think the same sort of shit applies to their fries.
Is that true?
Yeah. I am given to understand that the Diet Coke is different at McDonald's than anywhere else.
I'm going to need you to prove this next week.
Okay.
That's your assignment.
Like that they have like a softening agent or something to it, so it's not as, I don't know. So it just tastes different, or it has a different mouthfeel or something.
The fountain Sprite is about as good as it gets.
And I've heard that the one at McDonald's is best.
That's just where people always get it, perhaps. So perhaps that perception has been blown.
It could be. I don't know. Or maybe it's because their fries are so bomb and you have fries with that soft drink. It's just so good.
We shall enjoy our week. It has to be better than the last week. Last week was just weird. It was just weird.
What are you hoping for this week? Closure! Can we fucking get some closure this week? Time to go find that morphine mic now. Okay. Well, don't get too excited.
I wonder what it is.
Also, feel free to email the link to thebdepodcast at gmail.com. Because at least I am moderately interested.
I'm curious as well. Isn't it crazy how The Simpsons has predicted so many things?
yes, but I also think that people have taken it to the extreme. Like, is it possible that some of that stuff has to be doctored, right?
It could be.
Like after the fact?
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, 'cause some of it is just so, it's almost like replaying real life.
Right.
In
I think
Simpsons.
some of it's not been doctored.
Right. Well, I know, like, back in the day, and this was like earliest seasons, where maybe it was a Halloween episode or something, but they were looking like 30 years in the future. And Lisa's voted president, elected president. And it's like her first day. And she's like, well, President Trump left us in a financial mess. And it's just like, and that was in, God, that had to be the 90s. Like, it was a long time ago. But it's, yeah. Crazy.
I think they made
that's very prophetic.
a few predictions. What the fuck is this? Oh, a dog. I have an issue with the police using dogs like they do, to be honest with you.
Oh, I do.
When you use a dog as a weapon like that.
I've seen some egregious misuse of dogs.
Yeah, I heard.
But I think by and large, I mean, I like them for like searches and stuff.
Fuck that. You can't find my drugs, then you can't find them.